Living in a royal palace may sound like a dream for many, but for the 4 Saudi princesses, it's turned into a nightmare.
And 4 princesses, daughters of the 89-year-old King Abdullah, are alleged to have been singled out for extreme treatment. They say they've been locked away from the world for 13 years.
They were princesses by birth, daughters of one of the richest kings in the world. They were raised inside golden palaces, surrounded by luxury, servants, and everything money could buy. But beyond the marble floors and chandeliers, something was missing: freedom. From the outside, their lives looked perfect, but inside, the palace became their prison. The 4 sisters, Jawahar, Hala, Maha, and Sahar, lived under strict control. They couldn't travel or meet people and were barely allowed outside. The guards weren't just for protection, but to ensure the girls stayed hidden. Their mother, Alanud Al-Fayez, once a teenage bride to King Abdullah, watched her daughters grow up locked in a world that looked royal but felt like a cage. While the world praised King Abdullah for giving women more rights in Saudi Arabia, his daughters were being kept behind closed doors. They had no choice, no voice, and no freedom. Behind the royal walls, the glitter faded and reality set in. These princesses lived in a golden cage, a life of silence, a life without choices, and a question that shook the world. Why would a king keep his daughters locked away? Royal contradiction. King Abdullah of Jordan was seen as a hero worldwide. He allowed women to study, vote, and even participate in government roles. The media praised him as a reformer, someone who was changing the future for women in a strict society. But behind the palace walls, his daughters were not free. While the world admired his progress, his 4 princesses lived under heavy restrictions. They were not allowed to choose their paths, speak out, or move freely. Their lives were carefully controlled, and every step was watched. This raised a troubling question. How could a leader give freedom to millions of women yet deny it to his children? The royal family showed 2 very different faces. One for the world, modern, forward-thinking, and supportive, and the other hidden behind closed doors. Silent daughters, ignored voices, and tight rules. It was a consequential contradiction. A king celebrated for women's rights, while his daughters were silenced. This contrast between public image and private truth made headlines and left many wondering, was the progress real or just for show? Silent rebellion. For years, the 4 princesses followed every rule, lived quietly behind palace walls, and stayed out of sight. But even in silence, there was resistance growing inside them. They were educated, intelligent, and aware of the world beyond the palace. They began to question why they couldn't live freely like other women. Their mother, Alino Al-Fayez, had already left the royal life behind and moved to London. From there, she began speaking out, not for herself but for her daughters. In 2014, she stood outside the Saudi embassy in London with a simple message: "Set my daughters free." It was a brave move, especially against one of the most powerful families in the world. Inside the palace, the daughters also began to push, back in small but powerful ways. During a hospital internship, Princess Hala saw people locked up not for illness, but for speaking their minds. That moment changed her. She began speaking softly about the need for change. It wasn't loud, but it was bold. They didn't protest in the streets, and they didn't run away. But their quiet resistance, their silent rebellion, spoke louder than anyone expected. A mother's plea? Alino Al-Fayez had once lived inside the royal palaces of Saudi Arabia. But after years of silence, she chose to speak for her daughters when no one else would. In 2014, standing outside the Saudi embassy in London, she held a sign asking the world to help. Her message was simple. Her daughters were trapped, and they needed freedom. She wasn't just a mother. She became a voice for women living in silence. Alino reached out to global leaders. She wrote a heartfelt letter to then-President Barack Obama, asking for help. She gave interviews, spoke to journalists, and told a story that many were afraid to hear. This is the story of 4 royal sisters, rich but imprisoned. While many people around the world showed support, the governments remained quiet. Saudi Arabia was a powerful ally. Most officials called it a private family matter. But for Eleanor, it wasn't private. It was personal, painful, and urgent. She had left her daughters behind, believing they would be safe. But now she realized they were not just hidden, they were forgotten. And she would not let their story stay buried. Hidden pain. From the outside, the princesses lived in royal comfort. Luxury. Villas, designer clothes, and gourmet meals. But behind the glittering walls, their reality was filled with emotional struggle. After their mother's escape, life inside the palace grew even harder. Travel was banned, phones and the internet were removed, and access to food and water was limited. The villa that once felt grand now felt like a silent prison. No visitors, no calls. There was no contact with the world outside. Inside, the sisters felt forgotten and alone. Their identities, once celebrated as royal daughters, were slowly fading into shadows. One American doctor, Dr. Dwight Burdick, saw the truth firsthand. He called to treat Princess Hala, but was shocked to see the emotional toll isolation had taken. She wasn't just sick, she was emotionally exhausted. Through empathy and quiet care, he tried to help her heal, but the pain ran deep. Princess Hala later asked her father if she could live abroad. His answer came with a condition. Only if she married someone chosen by the family would she refuse. It was a small act of bravery, but came with a heavy price: legacy and wealth. King Abdullah was one of the wealthiest men in the world, with a personal fortune estimated at $21 billion. He ruled Saudi Arabia for a decade, and under his leadership, the country saw big changes, including new universities, hospitals, and modern infrastructure. He was respected globally for his efforts to bring progress, but behind the wealth and reforms, his family faced a very different reality. The king owned grand palaces, including Al Yamama Palace, a symbol of power with over 1,000 rooms, gold interiors, and royal meeting halls. He also had private jets like a Boeing 747 worth $300 million and supercars, including custom Rolls-Royces. His life was the definition of royalty, exclusive, private, and beyond imagination. Yet despite having everything, his daughters had nothing that truly mattered: freedom, choice, or a voice. While King Abdullah built a legacy of leadership and luxury, his daughters lived in silence. The contrast was striking. A man who gave his country modern rights, but kept his children in the past. His wealth created a kingdom, but it built a cage, lined with gold for his daughters. Rich in comfort, but empty in freedom. Truth unveiled. After King Abdullah died in 2015, many believed things might change for the princesses. But freedom never came. Instead, silence grew more profound. Reports later revealed that Princess Hala passed away in 2021, followed by Princess Maha months later. No public tributes, royal funerals, just quiet notices buried in shadows. Dr. Burdick, the American doctor who once helped them, confirmed the emotional and physical toll they had endured. He spoke of empty rooms, withdrawn faces, and daughters slowly disappearing. The remaining two sisters, Princess Jawahir and Sahar, have not been seen since. Their whereabouts remain unknown. Their mother, Alanode, still waits in London. She continues to speak, hoping the world will remember. Her voice is now the last light keeping their story alive. This is not just a royal tragedy. It's a story of love, loss, power, and human rights. The world saw the wealth, the gold, the jets, the palaces. But behind those doors was a far more painful truth. 4 sisters born into royalty, but stripped of freedom. And now that truth is no longer hidden. It has been unveiled. Behind royal titles and golden gates, the story of 4 Saudi princesses reveals a chilling reality, that even unimaginable wealth can't guarantee freedom. As the world applauded reforms, These sisters vanished from public view, their silence louder than any headline. Their mother still fights for justice. But will the world ever hear them again? If this story opened your eyes, just wait until you see what we uncovered next. In our upcoming video, The Trillionaire Life of the Richest Arab Kings on Earth, we take you inside the most secretive and powerful royal empires. Hit subscribe. You won't believe what we found.